And I was like, let's freaking.
I know. Always gotta juice up.
Always, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like especially like on the road, since I work from like 2 in the afternoon till midnight, which it normally ends up to be like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
I like get some caffeine, and then on my days off when I don't have it, like go to the gym, I'm just kind of like I feel weird, so I'm constantly sipping on some caffeine.
Yeah.
But
no, dude, this one guy that I knew, he was a cop, but he was like, he's old now. He's like 75 or something like that. Actually, if he watches this, because I think he's like one of the few people that watch, he's gonna be like, I'm not 75. He's gonna be like, I'm 60, bro. But he was like, no, I like people would drink like caffeine, so he's like, I would just drink orange juice on my night shift. I'm like, orange juice?
Orange juice? I'll have to hop on that wave, dude.
I mean, yeah, try that and tell me like one night if it even does anything.
Yeah, I'd be like, okay. I mean, I don't know. Maybe a little energy level, maybe like boost, but not to the point where I'm just like wired. Like, especially if I'm sitting in front of a computer trying to crank out some serious reports, dude. I'm like, oh my gosh, like.
Yeah. So yeah, tell me about.
So we rolling? We're rolling.
Oh yeah, we're rolling.
Oh dude, okay.
Let me welcome you first. On the podcast, we got Jacob Glenn, the one and only, the coach.
The coach.
Who started that? Was that Ashlyn?
Coach, yeah. So when I first moved to Arizona, it was April of the last year, I want to say, and I just happened to show up, and there was volleyball, like stake volleyball. I didn't exactly know even what stake I was in. All I heard was, hey, there's stake volleyball. So I kind of showed up, like, thinking I wasn't even supposed to be there, or, like, I mean, had, like, the official invite type thing.
Yeah.
And then I played for Valencia because one of my buddies that I met actually in the Mexico City MTC, who I didn't see since then, he happened to be there, and we're like, no way. So he grandfathered me into the team, and then I was just being a clown, man. Like I was honestly just I was being a goonie. Like I was just like, kind of almost poking fun of people, like, hey, like you only get one mistake, like one more of those and you're done. Like, and I was just acting like I'd call like plays or tell them where to like serve the ball, acting like I knew what I was doing, and so then they started calling me coach. And I was just like, all right. and then Ashlyn just kept it going. So yeah, shout out to Ashlyn.
Yeah, what a girl. Yeah, I think I was at one of those stake things. I think that's where we like first met or something like that.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was that, and then I was actually thinking about this last night. I was like, man, like, how did Matt and I, like, really become, like, homies? And then I think it was, there was that dance at that one church building. It was, like, the Christmas one.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, you were outside talking to, I can't remember, homegirl, but talking to her, and then I was like, dude, this guy's sick. Yeah, I was like...
Oh, yeah, Lex.
Yeah, I think so.
That's right.
Yeah. But... yeah, I was thinking, I'm like, dude, like that guy's dope, and then we ended up balling out a couple other times. So
threw down a couple dances, sidetracked a few parties.
Yeah,
now we just comment naughtily on each other's posts.
Yeah, you'd think some of those posts that we put out would be like more like girls commenting, like, "Wow, this is so cool" and stuff, and it's just guys just with the most outlandish things to say, like.
Bro. I don't think any girls have ever commented on a post.
No, dude.
None of them care.
No, I mean they'll secretly like it and they'll talk to their friends about it, but will they ever say anything to your face? No shot.
No, actually, I was talking to one girl and we were, I guess we were in a group, and we were like driving, and I just posted something, and she's like, "Why are you posting?" I was like, "I don't know, like because I want to," and she's like, "What, do you just need attention?" I was like,
wow,
well, you're not giving me
Yeah,
any.
sure.
I was like, why are you coming at me for posting this?
No way. But then, sure enough, on spring break, she's going to be posting everything and their dog, dude.
I know, for real.
It's like, especially at the end of the month, it's like, oh, May dump, and like, it's just all their reels. It's like, why are you posting?
Yeah,
why are you posting half naked stuff? You really need that much gratification? Gosh, man.
You see like the photo collage of like the ones that like blast by, and it's all there.
Yeah. But then you get comments like that, and it's just the double standard.
No, for real.
Such a swift kick sometimes.
Dude, there's nothing worse than when someone says like negatively about your post.
You're just kind of like, okay, then don't follow me.
Yeah, follow. Stop watching. But So tell me about the what made you want to get into law enforcement? What led to that? What was because that's kind of a unique path. Not everyone wants to do it.
Yeah, especially I guess now in today's climate. I mean, it ebbs and flows, man. Like sometimes everyone loves cops, other times they don't. I think the idea stemmed from my dad. Like he was retired PD, and then I don't know. I've been like always like service oriented. I guess that's just kind of part of like my upbringing too. It was just like we serve. Like if you can, then do, and if you don't like the way something's done, then like don't complain about it. Just do it.
Right.
And so then during high school, well, I think going back up middle school, I was looking actually military life. I was thinking about it. I was like, I had a teacher that was student teaching, and he was in the Marines for like a number of years, and he did a couple tours, and so I was asking him more about it, and so I was really thinking that, and then at that time, I think it would have been, if I was older, it would have been a prime time to go in, but when my time came to go in, like I didn't like how things were looking as far as military life, and I have other goals too, like have a family, and I know that like military life and the family life is kind of tough.
Yeah.
So, so like still with the service oriented kind of mindset, I was thinking firefighting, and I was like, okay, but then as time went on, I was actually on my mission. We lived across the street from a police department, and they looked dope. They had like blacked out Chargers. They just looked super sick, and then I realized I didn't want to be a second responder. Sorry, firefighters, but didn't want to be a hose dragger, and I was like, yeah, I want to be a cop, and so yeah, and I think at that time my president was also hounding me like, hey, what's your plan? And I'm just like, I don't even want to go home, so I don't really have a plan.
Right.
And then once I got home, it was kind of more solidified. Like the idea was kind of there. Like, okay, like I think being a cop would be sick. And then the more I looked into it, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do this.
Right.
And so full sent it, and here we are.
Yeah. Why down here? Was that like you chose that, or was that where they sent you? How's that work?
No, divine intervention is all I can really say. I was working for. So I got home. I was working for a global company, selling mine support equipment, actually. Okay. So like big Caterpillar trucks, the ones where the tires are double human size type thing. And they sold me on the job by saying, yeah, you're gonna travel like 20% of your job, all of Latin America. And I'm like, say less. And I was 20 at the time, so I'm like, sweet. Gonna help me keep my Spanish and everything, and then I did like 8 months there, and just things weren't really looking kind of like as promising as it was like when they first gave me the job. And I knew at that point, like I was already locked in on like, hey, well, I'll give this a shot, but I know what I want to do. And so I was pretty done. It was middle.
Did they even let you travel, or not really?
I mean, I did some. I didn't do as much like vacationing, or not vacation, but like trips outside. So I was supposed to go to Colombia, scheduled that trip like 3 times, and then they just happened to keep canceling it, for kind of unknown reasons, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it was middle of winter, and where I'm from, like in Coeur d'Alene, man, like once it's winter, like it is winter, and you can kiss the sun goodbye for 8 months, like. Yeah. So I was like, well, I want to go. My thought was, okay, well, I want to go somewhere where it's hot, where I can keep my Spanish and use it and actually be utilized.
Right.
And I lived in Queen Creek actually prior to going to Coeur d'Alene, so I knew the area.
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
And so I was like, maybe let me look into Mesa. And then once I looked, like, they were hiring, I shot in an application, and it seemed like at that point, like, prayed about it and everything. And it was just like boom, 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 everything lined up to make it happen where, like, I quit my job, and then, like, literally a week later, my buddy calls me. He's like, hey, I know you're not looking to sell pest, but do you know anyone that wants to go to actually Mesa instead of Virginia? And I'm like, dude, I'm moving to Mesa. And he's like, no way. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, can I go sell just while I'm in the hiring process? And he's like, yeah. So came down, sold pest for 2 months. And like at that point, once I hit Arizona, like my background investigator was like, hey, when can we get you in? It was just like interview after interview through the system. And then academy time came around, and they actually hired me on early, like 2 months before the academy. Yeah. Because he's like, dude, I don't need you knocking doors. Like, he's like, I don't need you knocking doors like that before the academy. Like, just come work at the department before. So I did that, and then did that for 2 months, and the academy started, and that's when the fun began.
Yeah. Dang, bro, that's nice how that just like clicked into good place.
Yeah, kind of all around about story, but
Yeah.
I mean, all I can really say is like once I got the green light from God, it was just like okay, there's one foot in front of the other, and we're gonna be moving. So
nice. And why did you? So did your family live in Queen Creek before?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my family's originally from Southern California, like San Diego area.
Okay. Yeah.
That's like where I was born, and we were there for a couple years, and then my pops is medically retired PD, so he was in a fight, and then like it permanently basically disabled him from actually doing law enforcement.
Gotcha.
And then after that, we bounced around. I mean, ended up here for a little bit, and then after I think it was 2008, like market crashed.
Right.
And he had a pretty cush job like at the time, and then they laid him off out of nowhere, and then. So at that point, it was like, well, where do we want to start over? And then I guess God took the family up to North Idaho, out of all places.
Idaho. Idaho's like, do you like living in Idaho? What was your experience there, bro?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, the winters, like people complain about the winters and like, oh, it's long and like you don't see the sun. Yeah, but you have everything there. Like where I lived, it was 10 minutes one way, you're up the mountains. 10 minutes the other way is you're cliff jumping. Like everything was there, and so I loved it. I think eventually I might go back, but I plan on being in Mesa for 25 plus years and retire, get one retirement from Mesa, and then I mean we'll see, because I mean maybe I'll have kids by then if there's a girl out there
No, for real, dude. The dating scene down here is. I mean, we were talking.
Do you want to recap on that?
Yeah, let's recap on that. Yeah. We were talking a little bit before, but yeah, I didn't even finish that story about my friend. So I was talking to my friend, the 55-year-old, and he was asking me about like my dating life and stuff. And I told him I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm going on dates, but there's like 3 categories, and I don't know. The girls probably have their own categories for us too. But I was like, either you get like the really young girls fresh out of high school, like 18, 19, and it's not like their fault, but like it's just very surfacey, right? Like. It doesn't really go much further than that. Yeah,
it's all very surface level. Nothing, no deep conversations or anything.
Like you try to take the plunge, and then like 5 seconds, and you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna bring this back up."
Yeah.
And then you've got like probably the 25, 26, 27, like closer to 30 group, and not like
trying to get you to the temple ASAP.
Well, you're trying to get you to the temple ASAP, or I think there's 3 things. Either one, like, maybe they're not the most, like, attractive. You know what I'm saying? Not all the time, but in some cases, right?
It's kind of like they're 27, like, and unmarried, and it's kind of like you're questioning the whole time why.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because they're good looking, you're just like, okay,
they would have been, why? Like, if they're good looking, what is the red flag here that everyone's running away from?
Yes.
Right? And then the group in between, like, what, like 22, 23... 25, 26. That one, I feel like, is the group where it's, you get I'm trying to figure out me, and I got to figure out all these things in my life.
Yeah, I just got to go find myself.
Oh,
my gosh.
Yeah. So that's what I told him. He was like, I mean, his advice was terrible. He was like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be you.
Yeah. I know, that's what everyone says. Like, oh, so what's your dating life at? And then you tell them, and you describe it, and they're like, yeah, I'm just glad I'm not in your shoes. And it's like, hop off my back then about it, bro. Like, let me do what I can do. Like,
I know. I know. They always start with asking why you're not, and then they follow with, "Oh, I'm glad I'm not you."
Yeah, it's like okay, like thanks, man. Like,
that's freaking tough.
Yeah, well, that's also, I mean, not to make it all about me, but like roundabout, like that was also another factor of like, dude, I need to get out of Idaho, like just because it was so like.
Is there anyone? Or like,
it's a slim pickings, man. And I told them that straight up. I got back and I was home for a month, and they're like, yeah, so how's your dating life? And I'm in like my like report, like with the whole council there.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, actually, it's pretty non-existent. I'm like, I don't even want to be home.
Yeah.
But it's a slim pickings up here. And I said that verbatim, and everyone's like, oh. And, like, one guy on the council, I dated his daughter. Another
Right.
guy, I, like, grew up with his daughter and, like, wasn't the biggest fan.
Yeah.
And then there's another guy that had 2 daughters that just graduated high school and were, like, already off at college.
Right.
And, like, and they're all, like, looking at each other like, oh, shoot, like,
Yeah.
did you just say that, like, type thing? And I'm like, yeah. And so that was another factor. I think over a 6-month period, I had to see one of the stake presidency members, like, every week because I was helping out with, like, a Spanish class that was at the church.
Mm-hmm.
And every week it was, so what's your dating life? Like, have you gone on a date this week? Have you gone on a date? I'm like, dude, no. Like, it took you 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been home for 6 months. I have 54 months left to get married if I'm going to meet your standard.
Right.
So I don't want to hear it. And then he's like, well, it looks like you know what you need to do. If you're too good for these girls out here, then you need to leave. I said, actually, I'm moving. And after that, he's like, oh, shoot.
Yeah.
And then after that, I didn't hear anything else. So it was just kind of like every time I saw him, it was just kind of like mutual respect type thing. Like, yeah, dude, like, oh, I'm the problem. Watch this.
I know. You always get like especially in, because my grandparents are from like Grace, Idaho.
Okay.
So a little town, you know.
Yeah.
So anytime you go up there, like they'll ask, and I didn't ever live there, but there's always like you get it's like, well, what about Jenny from across the street?
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're like Jenny's like 35 and has 4 kids and is a single.
Yeah, you're just like, oh yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, I guess that wouldn't work out.
Yes, it's, oh yeah, I guess there is that factor. It's like you put it in perspective, and they're just kind of like, oh yeah, I guess you're kind of right. It's like,
I know. But they always suggest like random people that they know, and you're like, or like grandparents, dude. I've had lots of people that, because I've done a lot with like 80-year-olds with church work and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And I think I was on a podcast interviewing this one elderly couple, and they were like on the podcast. They were like, yeah, like, can we set you up with our granddaughter? And I was like,
you got a picture?
I know. I legit told him, I was like, what's her Insta? Like, what's her? I was like, at least give me something to go off here. My favorite, and I'll probably have to cut this out of the thing, but my favorite was that the guy who was like telling me about her, he had to like after he said her name, he's like clarified. He's like, we don't see her a ton, but like, I think she's temple worthy. I think she's a good girl.
I think
like,
from my knowledge.
Yeah, like, and then I was like, oh yeah, cool. And I like look her up on Instagram, and I was like, yeah, you keep thinking that, bro. Like, it was not one of those. Yeah, I was like, dude, he needs to check in on his granddaughter a little more.
Yeah,
but
I think that's another problem. Like, is like, I mean, I'll go ahead and say problem is that you have like the studs, right, that are like, temple worthy on like what we were talking about, like temple worthy. You got your ducks in a row, right?
Yeah,
you're temple worthy. You got like your aspirations and your visions and things that you're already working towards. Yeah. And like if that's a career or whatever, I mean, obviously, like, not to be worldly, but like money, you have to have so much of it to live, right? And so like you're already getting your ducks in a row, you're successful, and then you go to meet a girl thinking like you're the whole package, because you bring everything to the table, right? Everything that could want and need, you bring to the table,
right?
And then it's just like you have the ones that are just out of high school, they're like, oh, that's scary, right? And then you have the ones that are our age, and they're like, well, that's great and all, but I don't want to settle down because I need to go find me and explore. It's like, and I know we were talking about is like, wouldn't you rather have like someone to go on vacation with? Like, go explore together. Like, it's just because I do have a full-time job doesn't mean that it's going to be impossible to go vacation. Like, and then you have the ones that are older and you're just kind of like, okay, they've already explored and they already like went through all that. They're looking for everything you have to offer, but it's like, why are you 27 and unmarried? Or sometimes they'll even have a kid or two at that point, and you're just kind of like, okay, like, and some people are about it, like, all right, like, that's cool. Yeah. But it's like, that's not your fault or nothing. Like, if that's not a preference of mine, then like, okay. Right. Like, I'll make jokes about it. I'm like, dude, freaking mom's at the gym? Like,
I know.
I know, but then it's like, then you put in perspective, like, oh, shoot, that's a temple marriage and that's someone else's kid. Like, Like they're gonna
bro,
like, is that gonna be like?
Dude,
What's
it's
the dad like? Is the dad like? Is he a domestic violence dude? Like, why aren't you with him anymore? What happened? Like,
oh, you're walking into something.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, there's something
blind.
You can make it work, but there's like, yeah, and you know you're not gonna get the full story until you put that ring on.
Oh yeah, and then it's gonna be like, by the way, so like, yeah, my like baby daddy, he's kind of got like 5 more years in prison. It's like, oh no,
and this young one, he's that's not his kid.
Yo, yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's always one that's maybe like 4, and
that's
another one
that's down the street.
Yeah. You're sitting there like, oh, what the freak, and then it's too late. You're already in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah, I dated this, not dated. I went on a date with this one girl, and she was like 25, so a little bit older, right? She was in that camp.
Yeah.
Graduated from, she's been like graduated college already and all that stuff, and I was like, oh, that's sick, you know? And I thought the date went really well. Like, I was kind of like, oh, I probably could, you know.
Go on a second.
Yeah, I could go on a second. I could see maybe this working. Because, like, you always, first impression, you go, okay, they're physically attractive. Personality, we'll figure that out. And then lastly, it's like, can you visualize something there?
Yes.
Right.
And I feel like that's not like the crazy of like, yeah, I already have our, like, I'm already planning our marriage. It's more just like visually, like, you're thinking logically, right? Like, okay, can this work?
Right. Because, like, and even to the point of like, I'm sitting here going, okay, could I like this girl for more than like a week? You know, like, or is this gonna fizzle and it's gonna be fun for like a date?
Yeah,
right. You like, it's not like deep stuff. It's just like, can you see it?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I could maybe see this. Like, we'll explore, because obviously I'm thinking, okay, she's good looking, she's a little bit older, like she's from out of town. Like, why isn't she already like off the market?
Yeah.
You know, and maybe that's more of like a church thing, because I feel like I've probably like real world type thing. I think like the dating age is a little bit higher, but
yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
I would agree.
But in the church culture, like everyone's
just like, yo, you're 18. Like, well,
why
aren't you getting picked up?
Why aren't you in the temple right now?
Yeah, what are you doing
there?
wrong? Are you even worthy?
Are you working through something?
Yes. Actually, I have my bishop on speed dial. Thank you.
I'm meeting with my stake president later tonight. Yeah, I know, for real. But we go out, and I thought, like, I took her to a baseball game. Oh, that's totally gonna give it away if she listens to this, but whatever. But I took her out. She's gonna know. I'm putting you on blast.
Yeah, buckle up.
I'm gonna tag you in the post.
Oh no!
Give her some hate. No, just kidding. But we go to this baseball game. It went really, like, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, like, at the game, it's kind of hard to talk. Like, what are you gonna talk about? We were chatting a little bit, but we were watching. And then, you know, like a week went by. We're keeping it kind of chill. I asked her out again, and just like straight up, like, she's like, hey, actually, I think, like, I don't want to waste your time. I think we should just be friends. Like, I don't see this going anywhere. And my problem isn't that I got rejected.
Right.
I mean, that never feels good. But my problem was, I'm sitting here going, okay, like, you're not ugly. I'm not ugly.
There's got to be more to it.
Right. And I'm going, we barely know each other. So what are you basing this choice off of?
Yeah.
You know?
Other dude on the side.
Yeah, like, that's
the only... See, that's the only explanation sometimes for me that I can, like, logically wrap my head around. Is like, okay, like, I don't think I did anything. And, like... And honestly, if I don't care, like, about seeing them again or nothing, like, I'll just ask them, like, yeah, like, so what do you think went good, though? Like, what'd you enjoy about the date? What did you like and what didn't you like? And I have no problem with that. I mean, maybe that's just, like, my personality, where I'm just kind of like, okay, I'll take that into consideration, but I really don't, like, I don't care what people say or think. It's just kind of like, I mean, I get cussed at for a living. I mean, I can celebrate Mother's Day now because I've been called a mother so many times. Like, I'm getting perks from that, but like, so I don't really care, like, oh, my feelings gonna get hurt? Freak no, dude.
No, for real. I'd rather get the feedback, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I may not do anything about it.
Yeah. Like, okay, well, that's her preference. She didn't like that I did that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, next. Like, don't care.
But I'd rather find out. But I feel like the girls softball the things too a lot. You know, they'll be like, you know, like usually there's a fake reason or whatever.
Yeah, right? I think, and sometimes I would, just to add to the fake reason, I think it's because it goes back to them being scared, like, of the unknown. It's like, well, I like this guy, but I just don't know enough about him. And, like...
Dude. The weird part, too, is going back to what you said about, like, when you do have your, like, ducks in a row, and then they're like, oh, gosh, like, I don't want to, like, I got to figure out me. My thing is, like, I feel like guys and girls, too, who have their ducks in a row, one, if they are, like, insecure to where they're, like, they feel threatened by you, like, obviously, okay, that probably wasn't going to work. But two, I'm sitting here going, like, it's not like you and I, just because we may have our ducks in a row, we got, like, plans in place.
Yeah.
It's not like we got it all figured out.
No.
Like, we readily will admit, like, oh, we want to explore and see how you fit in our life and how we can fit in your life and how we can shape this together.
Yeah.
But it's just like, here's what we've got going on right now, and hopefully this is attractive to you.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think, and I don't know if it's just like a here thing, because like I feel like AZ and Utah, like I feel like this is like a problem. And but maybe, you know, I don't know if elsewhere it's not. But
I would agree. I mean, because I have buddies up in Utah that same way. Like either they got their ducks in a row. Like yeah, okay, like you're still in school, cool, but like they're going places, right? And it's like, and they're studs, and like they got their stuff figured out, right? And it's just and they're not ugly dudes. Like they're good looking dudes. Like I'm like, dude, like what is going on? Like what's happening in Utah? Yeah, I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Yeah. Like, what's happening? But then, of course, in the church, I mean, I know this is, like, kind of predominantly, like, church kind of topic stuff. Right. But it's like, well, we've had an increase of single sisters in the church, and we don't know why. And it's like, I can tell you. I can tell you from experience. It's because
no dude wants to date them.
No dude wants to date them because they, like, just don't engage.
You get shut down, yeah.
And then you're just sitting there like, okay, well... Mm-hmm. Watch this. I'm gonna continue. It's not gonna phase me. Like, oh man, like would be nice maybe to get married, like, or start a family because that's part of my goals and plans. Right. But okay, if that girl doesn't want it, I'm not gonna sit here and waste my time and like piss and moan about it. It's like, all right, well then, continue the search. Yeah. Oh well.
Well, and I think you and I are probably a little more unique in this way. Like, personally, I don't fear like rejection. No. Like I'm like whatever, you know, it's fine. Like And even to a point where, like, I'll go back and get rejected multiple times, like, if I need to be. Because, like, I'm like, I'm unfazed by it. Yeah. You know? Like,
don't care.
I'll crack the code at some point.
Yes.
But some dudes, like, especially, like, you know, they do not want to be rejected.
They get the first no, and then all hell breaks loose. Yeah. And it's just,
yeah. Yeah. And so they don't want to, like, go through that. And, I mean, and I think, too, that's a lot of it has to do with, you know, like, I don't want to say social media as much, but just, like, the amount of options.
That's true.
Because it's like, you know, you can go on your phone and you got options. You can go on dating apps, you got options. And so it's like easy just to kind of be like, you know.
Well, I think for, in my experience at least, to kind of add to like the, like rejection thing. Yeah. I mean, you put yourself out there, right? And that could be in anything, like in work, in, you know, oh, I'm pursuing this career. Mm-hmm. We were talking about this a little bit. Like people say, "Oh, I don't like, you know, why do you post?" That's whatever. Like, okay, don't care. Yeah, like, it's my life, my choice. Right. And so when you have like that confidence level, it's like doesn't matter. Like, okay, tell me no, cool, thanks, unfazed. Right. And, I just think for some people that's just they don't have that confidence level to be no, okay. And then to go back to the options thing, I think a lot of times now it's girls can open up their Instagrams and whatever, and they have DMs for days. Right, like, which one do I want to respond to today? I've had this guy waiting for three days. What do I do? Do I really want to respond? Yeah. And then when a guy comes up to them in person and is like all confident up front, they're like, well, I'd rather just text him. Right. Or I'd rather just go back to, like, the easy guy that's that, hey, how's your day going? No, yeah, sure, I'll ask about your day, but what conversation starter, like, hey, it's just, you know, just thinking about you, how's your day? It's like, gosh, man, like, no, hey, let's go do something. Right. Clear your schedule Thursday night because I'm coming to town and we're going out. Like, I think there's just that with going back to, like, the rejection, I guess it's kind of my roundabout way to get into the rejection thing is just, like, the confidence, like, you have to have it. Yeah. And sorry, like the rejection at one point, like you can overcome that as far as being scared of rejection. Like I feel like there's like every guy has to get to that point where it's just kind of like, why am I scared? Right. Like, I mean, I talk to gangbangers and like people that have done some really bad things. It's like, why am I going to be scared to go ask Julie over there to be like, hey, Thursday night, like, I'm going to do this. I'd love for you to come with me.
Right.
Like, why? Oh, no, sorry, I'm busy. All right, no harm, no foul. Like, I'm going either way.
What's the worst thing that happens, right?
Yeah.
Like, the risk ratio becomes so small. And I think that's the other thing, too. Like, the only way... Crack the can. Dude, crack that into the mic. Make that some ASMR, right?
So I should to be respectful.
We get a whole new group of listening to this podcast. But, dude, the only way, like, you get more confident is just by doing it. It's just reps. You know?
Yeah.
It's by getting rejected more. That's how you get less.
It's just like in the gym.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you break down the muscle fiber, you break down your rejection fibers, don't care. And then you're like, oh, wow, I'm stronger now.
Right.
And then you pull something a little more ballsy, like, okay.
Yeah, you just pull. And that, so let me ask you this, because I think people, you obviously give off confidence. Like, that's obvious. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the first time I met you, I was like, bro's confident. Like, he knows what he's doing. Man's in the middle of the mosh pit, breaking it down. If you haven't seen his twerking, you gotta see it. Maybe we'll post a clip of that. That'll be the promo. It's just you dropping it down.
No.
We get all sorts of. We'll get the ladies commenting on that. It's all
I don't
dudes.
know. They won't comment on that. I tell you,
dudes.
they don't. All dudes, straight up. Just like on the gym post, man. All dudes. Hey, man, wow, Daddy Sebum.
Yeah. Always guys. But what things have you done? And obviously, you've kind of named a few of them. You know, moving down here, becoming a co-op, probably on your mission, things like that. But what things have you done to build up that confidence muscle? And like, what experiences have kind of made you just who you are at that level?
Man,
big question. I'm sorry.
No, it is a big question, but I mean, when you put break it down and put in perspective, like, I don't know, man. Like, it's kind of going way back, I guess, to my childhood. Yeah. Like, I think no matter what sport I was doing, like, if I was all in, I was in, and my parents like supported that. There was never a moment where I can remember like my parents being like, "Wow, like I wouldn't do that," or like, "You can't do that." It was always like, you know, I tried multiple different things out, like sports, and I guess God just blessed me with the gift to be able to perform at a level where it was like, okay, wow, like, you're gonna start, or things like that. And and it's not like people blew my head up with like, wow, you're so good, but it was more just kind of like, you know, parents were just so supportive and were like, yeah, like, you can do that, like, you can do that. I think the gospel aspect of like, dude, like, you can do, you know, God blessed you with this, you can do it. And so I'd say like sports from a young age, and then you know, with being shorter in stature, I guess, right? Like, some people be like, wow, like, how does he have so much confidence being a shorter guy? And I'm just kind of like, and in middle school, I think that kind of started kicking in a little more factor of like, wow, like, he's short or whatever, but I was still able to perform at the levels that I wanted to and still, you know, win, essentially. And I think as far as talking with people, that comes naturally to me, but it didn't really matter. Like, I was just talking with people either, and I think it comes down to actually giving talks in church and kind of the church culture of you just have to go up to people and talk to them, or just go and interact with them, and not even people my age, but older people. Yeah. And so with either volunteering for that or just being super service oriented, kind of tie that in of going to people's houses that I didn't even know just to do stuff for them. Yeah. That kind of boosted my confidence of just like, man, I've been doing this since day one. I can talk to anybody. I can do whatever I want. And so then high school came around, and actually throughout middle school, people would try to tear me down. They saw the confidence coming, and I'm not going to lie, like, I definitely flirt with the arrogant and confident line, you know? Sure. Yeah. To be honest, but
hey, you're self-aware.
But I'm so
that's what matters.
Yeah. See, I know when to tone it down a little bit, but I could definitely turn it up any moment.
Dude, I always said and I learned this I dated this one chick in high school, and she like was so, bro, she just wouldn't, like, sometimes she just say stuff and just like wouldn't shut up, or like she just do stuff where you're like, you're just like, are you trying to be like that type of person? You know?
Yeah.
And then I asked her one time, I was like, do you feel like, do you ever feel like, because she just would like not, like she would just talk over people, right? That was basically her thing. Like she'd like talk over people.
Dude, that's a red flag. Like if they're self-aware like that, like they have zero self-awareness.
Right.
Pisses me off.
And then I asked her about that. I kind of like, I caged it nicely, but I asked her, I was like, hey, like, do you realize you do that? And she's like, yeah, I just don't care.
Wow.
You know, like, because I'm a talker.
She straight up just said that.
Yeah, because I'm a talker too, you know, I get that. Like, I've had times where I'll talk about me and forget to ask questions, and I'll be like, shoot, that was bad. But, like, at the end of the day, I'm like, I tell the date or whoever I'm with, I'm like, hey, like, if I'm talking over you, just, like, let me know, because sometimes I do that, and that's my bad.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you're self-aware and it's like, I'm working on it, that's fine. But, like, when people
just to be straight up,
I
like,
don't. Yeah. That bugs me.
Dude.
I was like, you got to be at least, like, because there's, especially, like, confidence and being, like, there's, like, perks to that, but then also, like, there can be downside. It's just, like, being aware. But, dude, that was crazy. I was like, how... Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're good. Gosh, I think I was just talking about, like, in middle school, people would try to break me down because they saw me flirting with that line. And at that point, which was really odd, like, I kind of was a shorter, chunkier kid. Yeah. Like, until about 8th grade. Mm-hmm. I started wrestling 7th grade, and then, like, the fat just flushed right off, right? And I was like, I was already into weightlifting at that point. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to go.
Oh, we can tell, bro.
Oh, stop it. No, but I was already into weightlifting at that point. I think it also stems from my parents. Like, my pops grew up, like, he powerlifted hardcore in high school. And then my mom, she was a group fitness instructor, like, weightlifting.
Dude, that makes
class.
A difference.
And honestly, like, I was actually reading something. Sorry, it's kind of going way off topic. But it was like... Excuse me. The fitness level of your parents influences heavily the activity level and the fitness level of your kids.
Facts.
And I'm like, that explains so much. Yeah. Like, but anyway, so yeah, they were already like, weightlifting foundation was there. Like, I already was basically born into the game. Yeah. And then
I like that born.
and then they wouldn't let me lift weights until I was 12. That was like the borderline. It was like, hey, you're not lifting heavy, but you're gonna start lifting. But people in that kind of middle school, awkward kind of going to high school phase, they were like, dude, you're wasting your time. Like you're not getting big. Like, they'd make fun of me. They're like, dude, my name's Glenn. I think I'm big, and I'm just kind of like, give it some time, man. Like, watch this.
Dude, yeah.
And then I think I came back.
Dude, it's the shorter guys that always get big.
See, I mean, I was kind of banking on it. I was like, man, I'm already prone to kind of being a little chunkier. Like, just flip that into, like, putting muscle mass on, and it's going to be, like, I'm going to be golden.
Money, yeah.
And so I had some people that were, like, making fun of me, and I think it was one of my best friends. I knew him since 3rd grade. I moved to Idaho, and he moved to Idaho that same year, and we clicked, became best friends. Yeah. He was kind of asking me a little bit about it. I think freshman going into sophomore year, he was like, dude, like, why are you spending so much time at the gym? Like, what's going on? And that summer, I put on some decent gains, and he was like, oh, shoot. Like, and then he got hooked on the game, too. And then it seemed like it became a trend junior year. People were like, oh, shoot, like, you're actually putting some gains on. And then from at that point, it was, instead of making fun of me, it was more like, dude, I think you're on steroids. And I'm like, thank you for the compliment. Yeah. And so I think I was actually thinking about this. Weightlifting and the sports that I've done and the things that I've been able to accomplish as, like, state records, or, you know, I did multiple sports in high school. I mainly wrestled and golfed, but I did cross country one year, I swam one year, and then I played football senior year just because I was like, I want to play, and so I played. Like,
what did you do in swim? Like, what swims?
Swim, I was just a sprinter. I did the 50 and 100 free, and I think I was on some relays too.
Yeah.
But so I was just like, I mean, first year I was like, whatever, man. If I get up there in a Speedo and look jacked, like,
what more could you want? Get a little tan.
Come on now, dude, I know. Yeah. I was like,
I get it.
You had some eye candy going too.
It's
funny. I actually joined the swim team because the girl I was dating at the time was like an elite swimmer, and I was like,
bro, that's exactly. I
was like, shoot.
Yeah.
And then and then I had a bunch of my wrestling buddies that were like, hey, we do this to get in shape for wrestling season. I kid you not, I was in the best shape of my life.
Dude, swim's insane.
Crazy, but yeah, so then just like throughout like those things, to kind of get back to your point, just the sports, the interaction with people constantly, overcoming whatever little fear might have been of talking to people from a young age, not being told that I can't do, hey, I think I want to do gymnastics. All right, you can do gymnastics. I did gymnastics for like a little bit, self-taught myself how to do flips and whatever. I was like, okay, well, I accomplished that, check. Like, what next? And so just like those little goals, little accomplishments, and not being told I can't do it was, I think, where my foundation of confidence came from, and then actually accomplishing things and then just going up from there. Yeah. It's like, okay, no one can tell me I can't do anything now. Right. And then the confidence coming from my, like, within, but then the confidence from God that I've been able to receive, like, even in scripture study, like, I'm able to see, like, okay, well, why am I going to be scared when, like, God has blessed me, right? Like, with so much. And I actually had a buddy. Sorry to go off topic again.
No. You.
So I had a buddy. His name's Tommy Acker. Shout out to Tommy, and great looking guy, like stud, right? Yeah. It's like 6'3", tall, dark, and handsome. Yeah. Like, plays the guitar, country boy from Texas. Oh, like shit. He's in the weightlifting game, and him and I were talking one day, and it was like, I think it was right after the mission or something, and him and I were just talking about, like, girls kind of thing, and cause he's getting the hounding from it, like, well, what's your dating life looking like, and all this crap, and he's just like, dude, like, and same thing kind of with the confidence, like, not quite there, and I don't know if you want to cut out his name or not. Sorry, Tommy, we'll throw you under the bus, but the confidence wasn't quite there, right? And I'm like, dude, and kind of same question. I was like, hey, well, like, you seem like you have some decent confidence. I'm like, well, I appreciate that. Yeah. And I think it was Moses 1:13 was one of, like, my go-to scriptures for confidence. It's when Moses is standing there and Satan's, like, tempting him. And Moses is just like, dude, who are you? Yeah. Like, he's like, who art thou? He's like, who art thou? For I'm a son of God, right, made in the similitude of his only begotten. Right. And I'm like, so whenever something, like, fearful was coming up, or, like, I was like, oh man, like, I'm kind of scared to go talk to the girl. I'm just like, who art thou? Right, like, right. I'm him. Like, I him, bro. Everyone's got to have that mentality, I feel like, in order to make it, like, and so him and I were reading scriptures and studying scriptures, just all about, like, where our confidence can come from. And, like, it's same thing, like, where, like, your spirit comes from God. Like, you are a son of God. Right. Nothing you can do to change that. Like, just capitalize on it. Mm-hmm. And so I think just the knowledge, the constant, hey, like, you can do anything you want, like, put your mind to, and then actually getting out there and doing it. Yeah. Those, I guess, just to categorize it, just those three things, I would say, is what's kind of done it for me.
No, for real. Well, and that's the thing, like, I always forget, like, and I think it's pretty common, like, I have to remind myself constantly, like, dude, like, the Lord's got a plan. Oh, yeah. Yeah, he knows what's up, and he's got, like, we're going to make choices. He takes what we want into consideration, obviously, but, like, he's got a plan. If he wants to make it happen, he's going to help you make it happen. And if you're on his side, like, you got nothing to fear. No. And it's like, it's just, he's got it. He's the master of the plan at the end of the day.
Well, and, like, to go along with that, the master of the plan is and I was thinking about this the other day because I talk to my older brother because we have these confidence conversations all the time. He actually called me this morning, and him and I were just talking about a date that he just went on. I'm like, dude, we are studs. Like, and then of course, like, we get going on our little rant about, like, man, we're just, like, built different and all this stuff. And but we were talking. Oh gosh, man, I lost my train of thought. Hold on, let me think. We were talking about, like, the confidence. Oh gosh, what did you say before that?
Trust in the Lord because he's master of the plan.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So with that, it's like you have to be a man of action. Yeah. Before that, right? It's like God can't just. You have to do certain things to show God that you're ready and willing. Right. If you feel like you should go talk to that girl over there for no reason, but just to go talk to her and say, hey, I like your shoes. Or, like, hey, I'd feel like such a coward if I didn't come up and tell you look good today. Or, like, you look beautiful. Right. Whatever it is. but just showing like, and even, oh man, I don't know if it was the spirit or not. So what?
Right.
Just go put it in practice, break down that fear, whatever.
Yeah.
And then show God like, hey, look, like if I'm where I'm supposed to be, when I'm supposed to be, and you put the right girl in my path, I'm gonna be ready to act.
Exactly.
And that is also gonna contribute to it.
Yeah.
And so that's something for me that. Like, I've been told, my pops is always like, dude, be where you need to be when you're supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And God will place whoever in your path, and you just have to be ready to act. And I'm like, well, might as well get practice in talking to whoever, whenever.
Right.
And so that's just kind of also been another thing is, like, you can't just expect God to be like, here's the one.
Right.
Like,
Right.
go get her. It's
yeah.
it's like, okay.
Right.
Well, then we just might as well. I've never talked to a girl before, but we'll see how this goes.
Let's just
Golly.
No, the action is so key. Like, if you're not, but I think that's why, it really is like stacking building blocks. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's those. There's so many people because I've done a ton of stuff in the service mission and like just the service mission realm. That's what I've done a ton of work in. And so I see a lot of missionaries who come home early from cross-sliding, which in some cases, and that's fine. Like if you come home early, that is what it is.
Everyone's got their route, man.
Yeah, that's not the problem. But there's so many people that I know who go out, and I think like they're doing it because their family expects them to, or whatever, and maybe they want to as well. They probably do, but they've never really had the experiences of having to take action or really work hard or have something really difficult and just push through it. And they get out there and it's just like a crumbling experience.
It's a shock because they're like, wow, I'm expected to keep this strict schedule, but I went from playing video games all day and not having to worry about anything to this. Now everything is just the weight of the world's on my shoulders.
Yeah. And so they get out there first time and it's just like a big shock and they crumble. And that's where I think you just gotta, even as parent, like, and that's where you point out your parents were super supportive. I think that's key. But parents and family members and like just having those people who expect you and give you opportunities to do things that are tough and take action, so that when you get into those moments, it's like, oh, whatever, I did this like 5 years ago. It's easy, this is just another step on the path. So that I think that plays a key role in moving you down the path and taking action and moving forward.
100%.
Yeah.
I was told from a young age that like faith is a verb, like it demands action.
Yeah.
Like, was that scripture like James 1:17? It's like faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, because you can't just be like, Lord, help my crops to grow, but I'm not going to do anything. It's just like,
gonna sit here watch it.
Yeah, I'm just going to sit here and wait for rain. And it's like, no, dude, like bust your hump, get after it.
Yeah.
And same thing like with like lifting weights. It's not just like, man, like Lord, please help my gains.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lift weights or work hard.
No.
It's like, oh, well.
Yeah,
you just shot yourself in the foot. Like you're not gonna. You just offered up a useless prayer.
Yeah. No, I think that's why I like lifting weights so much, is because it's like, you have to be disciplined and you have to just go in and do it, and it's the consistency, of just going back and
discipline,
going back.
Man. No one else is there. No one can work hard for you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. For real. No one can work hard for you, but. Yeah, I don't know how some people just don't have that,
Which kills me. Which kills me. I don't know. I think I was also mentioned this before. Like, I don't know how people make it I don't know how people make it in life without having that, like, internal drive. Like, I see, just, like, within, like, my own extended family, I've seen how, like, laziness has been basically the start of like all of their problems. Like the epitome of whatever is going wrong in their life stems from I don't really want to do anything, or I don't want to do the hard things that I know are right. And it's just like, well, that's exhibit A right there. You literally just told you, like, I know exactly where your problems are starting from, and you should know.
Right.
And like, that's I think growing up on a chicken farm, for me, was so sick.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sure, there's some days where you're just kind of like, dude, like, I really don't want to go out there when it's, negative 20 or whatever, and you got to trudge through freaking 3 feet of snow to get out there.
Yeah.
But like, looking back, man, like, growing up on a farm was sick.
Yeah.
It taught me, get out there, reap the reward of whatever you're doing, and
get her done.
Hey,
Yeah,
you get her done. Get out there, bust your hump, get her done, dude.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I got the benefits from it. I mean, I was going through, I mean, we had so many eggs.
Yeah.
And, like, we were selling eggs, selling chickens, like, just clockwork, man. And I remember, like, my pops frequently was like, yo, Joaquin, like, that's what they call me in Spanish class, was like Joaquin. Yeah, so all my services, like, all my farm services, Joaquin, we need that stump pulled, like,
we gotta add that to the list of names for you.
Add it to,
Jacoby, Joaquin, Coach.
And, like, it was one of those things, it was just like, oh, like, if you need Joaquin's stump pulling services, hit extension, like, 63 or whatever, and so it just came down to a list, but, yeah, like, Joaquin, we got a dozen eggs. I need you to get rid of them by the end of the day. Can you do that? And I'm like, sure. 6-egg omelet in the morning, crack a few in a protein shake. You got a few left, mix that into some rice or something. You're like, I was butter. Like, it was the way to go, man. So, I mean, taught me how to work hard, and then also, hey, with working hard, you get benefits, and started putting on some mass, putting on some weight, and I was like, heck yeah. My doctor was concerned about my cholesterol. There's like 12 yolks. I'm like, oh yeah, but. Dude,
but
I looked at it, the science on it, abysmal. It doesn't do crap to you.
That's the thing. People get weird about the cholesterol. Like, that's been a discussion, and it's not what people claim.
No.
At all.
I looked into it, and no. It doesn't even touch you.
No.
Especially young guys like ourselves, man.
Oh, it's fine.
Young bulls.
You can take that.
Oh.
Easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that's needed in your system.
Yeah, I need that. If I'm going to maintain my T levels up here.
Yeah, dude, I need...
Give me it.
High libido. Bro, dude, going back to that, the no drive thing, though, I think a lot of people, the lack of drive comes from a place of, like, fear of making wrong choices.
Yeah.
And then they claim, like, oh, I just, like, really don't. Like, they make excuses, right? Because it's hard to face that. But, dude, I've always said, like, indecision is the decision. If you don't make a decision, you're making a decision, which is to do nothing. So might as well make a decision and, okay, it was wrong, and you find out quickly and then move on to whatever the right decision was. But, I like, fail fast, fail hard, and then move forward.
Yeah.
I
think, well... Because when you don't, to go back to, like, that decision of not doing anything, you instead of, like, a 50-50 chance, you just completely gave yourself a fat zero.
Right.
You could have been possibly right with that 50.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's either I do this or I don't.
Facts.
Okay, so 50-50 to zero, you'd rather settle with the zero? Give me a break, dude.
Yeah, at least take the shot.
That's something I think for me, because I can't really comprehend it, it just gets me so rattled.
Yeah.
I'm like, gosh, dude, like, what?
For real.
You're going to sit there and do nothing? But then to go back to the conversation about girls, though, they will take the guy that does nothing over the guy that's doing everything.
Right.
It's like, what?
Right. I don't know.
What?
Once again, I don't understand it in the slightest. I wish I had a better understanding of it. But, maybe it is, like, I mean, some girls like to be in the driver's seat, which... cool, but, like, we can share the wheel. You know what I'm saying?
Come on. Like, I mean...
Let's carpool,
I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to carpool the Celestial Kingdom. Like, come on now, get in the whip.
It's easier to get through those gates,
Yeah, but, I mean, honestly, like, with, like, the whole girl conversation, man, like, I don't really focus on it too much anymore. I think... it becomes a hot topic when other people make it one. Right. But for me, like, I mean, I'm sure everyone watching the podcast is probably like, man, these guys are just sitting here just whining about how there's no girls out there. But to be honest, like, I could care less at this point right now.
Right.
Like, okay, cool. Like, you want to deal with, like, the beta post boy that's not doing anything. I don't know, you might need to cut that out, sorry. But, like, the beta was, like, just doing nothing off to the side. Like, fine, like... If you want to mess up, like, right now, like, go for it.
Right.
Go find yourself. I don't care. Like, all I know is I'm going to keep doing me. I'm going to keep getting,
No, you're good.
Getting bigger, like, getting better at whatever my craft is.
Yeah.
And becoming, who I need to be for when the girl that decides that she wants to be with a guy that is confident and has everything, you know, checks off whatever boxes she has on her list.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to do everything I can right now to become that guy. And, you know, if that means I got to cut out other stuff to become him, like, I'm going to be him.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather do that than...
He is him right there. Dude. No, 100%, bro. And that's the thing, too, is you attract what you are.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like, you got to put in the effort. And I think that's what we're saying is like, we're going out, we'll date people, we're talking to people, we're putting ourselves out there in all aspects, not just dating, but in all aspects.
All aspects, like work, like
same thing.
You want to, what's that? Gosh, you want to like network, like get your name out there, do whatever.
Yeah.
Go talk to people.
Right.
That's going to transfer directly over to be like, okay, well, I talk to people all day.
Right.
Like,
be consistent in like every aspect.
Yes.
Yeah. And then the girls or whatever, that, you know, they'll come to you. You'll attract who you are.
Yeah.
And it'll work out for sure. But that's and that's honestly going back to what we talked about with the social media stuff and why we post. Kind of bring it full circle.
Yes.
I think the biggest thing, at least for me, is I think it's cool when you inspire other people to think in different ways or challenge their own thinking. And that's the thing, like you brought up with your friend, you know, he's a stud, but wasn't thinking confident, wasn't being confident. You know, he's going, oh, like, Jacob, what are you doing to solve that? And I think we just learn from each other better when we open up and communicate about it. So if people ever wonder why we post or why we share, it's because we just are wanting to learn from each other. Yeah.
Like, you know, that's a big thing of that I see in like my line of work. It's like guys that have been on for a while, like the 25-year plus guys, a lot of them, instead of giving knowledge, they're just like, they'll hold on to it. But then if you don't do it their way, then they judge you for it. Right. It's like, well, I wouldn't have done that when I started, or like whatever. Yeah. It's like, I'm all ears, man. I'm here to be a sponge. Right. Like, and that's like, and I think guys like us that are going through like the same thing, we're on this, like, we're at the same kind of stage of life right now. I mean, as far as those studs that are getting after it, that are progressing towards what they want to be, and like, I mean, and like the ones that don't have that direction or whatever, like, they can still learn as well. But I think like when we share that knowledge of like, hey, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, how are you doing this and that? Like, that is so beneficial to the community, like of guys our age or even people that aren't. Like, people are still figuring it out or whatever. Like, just because someone might be older doesn't mean that they can't learn from a younger guy, right? No. So I think it's frustrating though when you have people that are just like, I'm not gonna do anything. Yeah. Like, and that's when I just kind of have to bite my tongue and just look the other way, because I'm like, well, I'm not gonna stand around and watch you fail. Like, if I try to, you know, hey man, like, you might want to do it this way, otherwise you're gonna get hurt. Yeah. Like, I mean, not just in the gym, but like, hey, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Right. And they're just like, yeah. I'm like, all right, bro. Like, I'm hands off at that point, and I'm gonna walk away, because you clearly don't want my help, and you don't want to help yourself, essentially. For real. So. Well,
and that's the thing too, is the people who are in that spot too, like, maybe they come around, maybe they don't. But the nice part is that hopefully they know, like, you'll consistently be there if they ever did want that help. Yeah. And that's all you can do, you know. And that's because, and I think the people like for you, I'm sure there's people you can think of that are like, they were consistently there for you, and you go to them for advice and seeking 100%. Help. And I just think that's how, like, everyone learns better, is just by absorbing it from everybody else and just putting messages out there. And I mean, that's why I try not to bash you can bash on social media a lot, there's a lot of downsides. Yeah. But, you know, I've learned a lot from social media or people's podcasts, or, you know, people from wards or stakes, or just all over the place. So it's all about touching different people in different. Pause. We're gonna have to cut that out. Touch people in different ways. I'm not sure about that one. That's how we inspire people, folks. That's how it is. So, well, Joaquin, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Dude, I've loved being here. Like, I know we like totally went full circle, but
that's how it be. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be.
I love love that, man. I love it. But I'm just humbled and blessed. Humbled and blessed is all I can really say. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. I'm just glad you answered me at 1 a.m. last night. Just it's like, yo, let's do this.
Like, hey, well, my sleep schedule is just so skewed, just like because of my work hours, and so like I was gonna be up anyways, and I think it was inspired to say the least. So I'm just like I said, humbled and blessed.
Well, it was awesome getting to talk to you, getting to know a little bit more about you, and we'll have to have you back on.
Yeah, if you don't get too much hate for this. Who is that guy?
Don't ever let him back. No. Well, we'll definitely get you back on. It'll be blast.
Sounds good, man. Appreciate it.